Well, hello there everyone and welcome back to another video here on the JB Visuals YouTube channel, where today I'm actually back with another behind the scenes video. Now I've actually not done a behind the scenes video for quite a while now. I think it's actually back at the start of the year that I actually last showed you Premiere Pro. However, there's actually a bit of a reason why I'm actually here doing Premiere Pro. It's because I actually want to talk to you about a very important process that is used when it comes to editing a short film, a documentary, an advertising, video, anything media related that you actually put in Premiere Pro. So, for example, I've actually got some footage that I've actually shot a few weeks ago. You can see it's been a few weeks now actually since I went out and shot this footage, and you can see here I've actually got like a bit of a beach scene, which you can see it's all nice and clear, it's nice and bright, colourful, it's all in focus. Got some different camera shots as well that I've actually been using as well. It's actually been placed in the sand. This was actually done on the GoPro, so I'll be using that bit of footage. However, there's only one thing that annoys me when I actually when it actually comes to editing. If you want to actually play back your video, which I'm going to do, you can see it starts off really nicely. So far so good. However, when we get to a few seconds into the sequence, you may notice that the video starts to buffer up. As you can actually see here, you can tell with the waves, they should not be flickering on and off or buffering on and off. They should actually be moving straight, and that is what I'm going to do. So yeah, that's just an example. I'll use that later on because I actually want to use a bit of different footage that's more detailed. So we're going to go ahead and use this one. This one's actually a lot more detailed. There's a lot more sand and pebbles and picturesque scenery in the background as well from our local beach. So again, if we was to play, you can see it's all in focus, but again, a few seconds into the frames, into the footage, you can see that I come into shot, then I start buffering, which means I should be walking smoothly instead of buffering on and off. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click and drag and place this footage into my timeline. We actually want to focus on this little bar at the top of the clip, which will either appear red or yellow. So, and the only colour that we only want is green. So first of all, I'm just going to quickly have a little play through and just go to the scene when I first come into shot, which is about there, and then I'm just going to do the same when I get to the end. It is a bit difficult when it's either red or yellow, because unfortunately it buffers up and you can't see what you're doing. So I'm just going to go to the bit where I actually just finish before I actually start turning around. So I think I'm going to colour it around there, and there we go. So you can see it's now gone down to 17 seconds, which is a really good amount of time. So first of all, again, watch what happens. Starts off nice and smoothly, and then as we go into a few seconds in, you can actually see it then starts to render. No, sorry, not render, I mean buffer, sorry, yeah, it starts to buffer up. But yeah, the rendering is the bit we are actually going to be doing now. So there are actually two ways that I actually use. The first one is actually to cut the clip as short as possible and then go into sequence and then go to render into out. And you can see we've actually got 859 frames, which isn't that bad. It's not too much, because the less frames, the better chances of the video being rendered really quick, so it doesn't have to take too much time. Because of course, if the video that you've got is too long, that will actually take a very, very long time. Might even take a couple of hours, depending on how long your video clip is. So the best thing to do is to get those video clips as short as possible, so you can actually then render it quickly and you can then when it comes to editing, you can actually just go back and see properly where you actually want to edit those scenes. So there we go. So that's actually now much better, because of course it doesn't buffer up as much. It might buffer up just a tiny bit, but then of course you can see it's actually playing very, very well. It's not buffering all the time like I showed you at the beginning. So if I just play again, you can see it will just buffer for that little second, and then of course you can see there's no more buffering. The video plays very, very smooth. And then of course if we wanted to go back and edit, you can see it's very, very smooth. You can move the cursor, get rid of that. You can see when you actually move the cursor, the marker, or whatever you want to call it, you can see the clip is very, very, very smooth. Now that's actually one way of how to render a video. Take for example, if you've got a longer video and you want to render it. So I think it's this one. So here we actually have a video over here. That's about a minute. I think I'm going to try and use another one of myself. I think I've got. Here we go. Yeah, this should be a good one. That's actually me walking into the sea. So we're going to put that one in there. So again, we're actually going to just get rid of the bit of footage that I don't want. So I think yeah, that's actually a starting point. We're actually coming to shot. And then again, as I've actually put the clip in, you can see it's actually quite, yeah, you can tell it's quite buffering, because of course it is long as well. So I'm just going to trim that down there. And another way that I like to do is to actually cut the video into two halves, or maybe even more, depending on the size of the video. So this video, I think we're going to properties. Yeah, this one's about. Yeah, it's about. Hang on. It's about less than 20 seconds. So. Yeah, it's around about 20 seconds. I think, yeah, it's about 20 seconds long, 25 seconds. And one of the other things is I'm actually going to try and find the halfway point of this clip. And to do that, I'm going to use the razor tool, and I'm going to split the clip into two halves. Now some of you will be thinking, oh no, it's actually going to cause a glitch, it's going to jump frames. But it's not, because as long as you have the same videos, if I was to actually just play it, you can see it doesn't jump or anything like that. It's still the same clip, and happy days, you've still got the same footage all together. Now you probably be thinking to yourself, how do you actually render one single clip instead of rendering the whole entire clips? So to do this, we're actually going to hang on, and it's playing up a little bit, so just go into we are going to go to the first frame of that clip we've just inserted. Hang on a minute, and we are going to press the I key on the keyboard for the input, and you'll have a little bracket saying that's the starting point. And then of course, obviously, we're then going to put another one at the very end of that clip that you want to render. So we're just going to fast forward and press the O. So remember, I is for input, O is for output, and then we can just then render out that single clip. There's your input bracket and your output bracket, so start to finish, A to B. And then we're going to go into sequence, render into out, and you can see this is going to take a little bit more quicker because it's only 521 frames, and you can see that blue bar is going as quick as it should be, because of course, remember, the shorter the videos, the better it will be. So according to this one's about 10 seconds long, because of course I've cut it into 2 halves. And then of course we're then going to do the same with the other clip that I've just split. And then of course that will then obviously be the hang on a minute, just going to make sure it works. There we go, works absolutely perfectly. And you can see that video playback is very, very smooth. So again, just one more time. If we want to move on to the next one, you can see we can then move the cursor. So you can see that's your output, and then it will then move on to the new start of that video, and then we're just going to do the same before, input at the beginning and then the output at the end. So I for input, O for output, and then of course we're then going to render into out again. So this one's about 11 seconds, so it's just about half and half, which I've actually just done. And then of course we will then be able to get a really nice smooth playback. And then of course this will also help with the exporting as well, because if you don't render your video clips, then the exporting is going to be a little bit difficult, and it might take a bit longer to export the final product. So that's why rendering is very, very important for your videos to be able to play back smoothly as possible. And then of course you can actually see it plays very, very well indeed. And that's how you actually render your videos. And then of course, if we actually want to get rid of the input and output, we just right click. You can then you can either do this two ways. You can either clear in or clear out separately, or you can just do the most efficient way, clear in and out, which will actually get rid of those brackets that we actually placed in. And then we're just going to play it back to see what happens. And you can see this plays really, really well, and the footage looks even more perfect without all of that buffering. And then of course when you actually export, I'm actually just going to make one point as we actually, I'll talk about it in a minute as we actually watch this footage. I'm really pleased with it because of course the most important thing to do is actually render each clip, because if you don't, then of course the footage is going to end up a little bit buffering, especially when it comes to the final product. And if you used to upload it, you'd then find a little bit of the glitches as well. So just one more thing before we actually go. A lot of people will tend to forget one of the most important things. You need to make sure that it's actually on entire source. If you used to have source in and out like I just done, it would then only export parts of that video. So you actually want to make sure it's on entire source. This clip is actually 39 seconds long in total, and then of course when you've got all the settings that you want, you can then just press export, and then your video will be done in no time. So yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for watching this behind the scenes tour video. Like I said, I'll probably do a few more of these in the future as I actually learn more video editing techniques. But yeah, always remember, when you put videos into your project, you must render them. Depending on how long they are, you can just render them straight away, or if you've got a longer video, you can cut it into 2 halves or even more, and then you can then mark it in and out, then render each clip separately, and then you are away. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and remember, keep on filming and keep on editing. Bye for now.